Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Infinite Crypto Cruisers. Hey there, folks. My name is Brad Varnell, and this is the Infinite Crypto YouTube channel. Today, we're getting started just a couple of minutes early because my internet connection here just did not want to connect powerfully enough to do everything that I wanted to do. So didn't want you guys stuck looking at that stupid countdown timer frozen, and ready to have a fantastic Monday morning. I guess maybe it's just a little bit illustrative of exactly kind of what we're going to talk about today in a sense. There's going to be a lot of things in life that are challenging that don't go exactly the way that you're hoping that they will. And what are you going to do when that happens? That's part of, it wasn't necessarily way up at the top of my topic today, but at the same time, it is important. What are you going to do? You're going to get all upset, be in a bad mood, not have a good live stream because of it? Or are you going to, hop in here and do the best that we can? So I'm going to be getting in touch with my internet provider here. The first couple of weeks after we moved in here, it seemed like everything was great. The last week and a half or so, 2 weeks, it's been pretty rough. And so going to reach out to my cable provider and find out what in the world is going on and try to get some extra bandwidth out here and hopefully, start having a better live stream. I know that even right now, I think I'm probably lagging just a little bit just in the normal conversation and stuff. So anyways, folks, what do we got here? November 4th, 2024. Interesting times. So, my incredible memory, I already forgot what I titled the video. I think it was something along the lines of, "Are you the one? No one is coming to save you." And, so with that, folks, what is that? What in the world am I talking about? Let's get rid of this branding here and run over here to the comments real quick. Good morning, Eric. Hope you are doing fantastic, my friend. Dave, great to have you. Thank you for being here. And so I watched a video over the weekend that kind of gave me my inspiration for this video. It was a video by a gentleman named Ed Mylett, who is one of my favoriteest people in the world. I highly recommend listening to him, whether you just have a job or if you're an entrepreneur, if you own your own business. I think that his podcast is probably one of the best in the world for helping people to just have the best life that they can possibly have. But I watched a video talking about finances and talking about, just some things in life that were very concerning. And I thought that it was, with the event that's tomorrow, it was a great topic and a good time to, really kind of talk about, what is on my mind. So are you the one? I'm going to go into that briefly, and then we're going to touch back on it a little bit later. But Ed Mylett has this saying, and he believes, and it makes so much sense. He says, in every family, someone becomes the one. And what he means by that is, in every family, if you go back, through your parents and your great-grandparents and your great-great-great-great-great-grandparents, at some point in time, somebody in your family was the one. Whether they broke the chain of bondage financially and became extra financially successful in life, maybe they broke the bondage as my father did. Alcohol was, enslaved my family for generations, and generations. My dad broke that bondage. He quit drinking when he was 32, had 50 years of sobriety under his belt when he passed away. That chain that he broke created freedom in my life where I never had any bondage to alcohol in my life. Today, we're going to talk about it more from a financial standpoint, because I think that that's the big one that most people really need some help in. Because if you really look back, most of you, if you're like me at all, there hasn't been anybody that has stepped up and been the one in your family. Maybe you're lucky, maybe there has. But for most families today in America, their parents got a good job and, got a good education and worked real hard and just kind of lived paycheck to paycheck, just kind of barely getting by, hoping for Social Security. Folks, I want to mention too, a lot of this stuff is more pertinent maybe in the USA than it is to other areas of the world. But I believe that everything that I'm going to say is really pertinent everywhere. It's just that I have more statistics that back it up, here in the United States. But for most of us, we don't have anybody in our lineage that was really what we would consider to be, very, very successful. And that's going to be different for everybody. But I'm talking about, somebody that really created financial freedom in their lives and was able to pass that down to their children and their children's children, not only financially, but mindset wise. It actually taught their loved ones and the people coming behind them the principles that it took to get to that point in life. And so Ed Mylett was the one in his family, and that's kind of where this whole talk comes from. He never had any money. He grew up in a very middle-class home. His grandparents never had any money, and so on and so forth. So he was the first person in his family to become the one that was willing to take the shots, the one that was willing to take the risks, the one that was willing to get hit and get knocked to the ground and keep getting up, the one that was willing to get made fun of, the one that went out and did things outside of societal norms, the one that went out and created massive, massive, huge financial freedom to where nobody can ever put a thumb on his family again. And folks, I want to tell you that if you're watching this video, there's a very good possibility that you are the one. You got to step up and be the one in your life. And it goes along with nobody is coming to save you. As you guys know, I have a very strong preference for who wins the event tomorrow. I have a huge preference. At the same time, I realize that no matter who wins tomorrow, I still am going to have to take the responsibility to go out and create the financial freedom in my family's life. I got to be the one. So I am definitely going to be the one in my family's future. My father had some mild success and he did okay. He was, he was not poor, but he never really made it over the top and really made it and create financial freedom in his life. But that was his dream and he instilled it in me. Sometimes it takes an extra generation. I always wanted my father to get over the top and really create massive, massive wealth in his life, because he definitely had a few people in the background, some haters that really loved to, point out the fact that he had all these big dreams and goals and that he hadn't accomplished them yet. And I really, off topic, but I wanted so badly for him. I didn't care if it was at 80 or 90 or at 100 years old. I didn't care when it happened, but I wanted him to be able to show these folks that he was able to create this incredible financial freedom. Unfortunately, he didn't quite get to it. He passed away about 1.5 years ago. And so now that burden falls on my shoulder. But, his dad, his parents, they were poor. My dad actually came from a family where there was a family of 4 boys and 1 girl, and my dad was the oldest. And so, there was lots of times where shoes and clothes and stuff like that were getting passed down. I know that one of my dad's younger brothers, one of my uncles, usually by the time he would get a pair of shoes, there was holes in the bottom of them. They were born in the 40s, and so they were growing up in the 50s, and so they would have to put cardboard and do all sorts of crazy stuff. My dad definitely came from more of a poorer environment. His dad was an alcoholic, and because of his drinking problem, he didn't provide for the family like they should have. They were always getting kicked out of houses and having to move because his dad would get, his alcoholism would cause him to not be able to work properly and keep jobs and so on and so forth. But so there's never been anybody in my family tree that's really made it financially, until me. And I'm still not anywhere close to where I need to be, where I want to be, to really consider and say that I am the one. Now, Ed Mylett can say that he is the one in his family. He's worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. He's been financially successful now for a couple of decades, so he's shown longevity. But folks, I want you to really decide today to be the one in your family. Your family deserves it. And once again, repeat that mantra. Nobody is coming to save you. It is all on, it's on you. If you're watching this today, it's because you think differently than the average person. You have bigger dreams and goals, and you already believe that there's something more powerful, bigger in your life than you just going out and working for somebody else for 40 or 50 or 60 hours a week for 40 or 50, 60 years of your life to just barely exist. So I'm going to go into some statistics. It's a little bit doom and gloom, but it's important to put this out there, folks. Now, once again, these statistics are more for the United States, but I would venture to say that no matter where you live in the world, this is probably pretty true globally. So the first thing that I want to talk about is in the last 15 years, income has gone up by 25% statistically in America. Whatever you were making 15 years ago is you're making about 25% more across the board than you were 15 years ago. But guess what, folks? The cost of the average house in America has gone up 138%. And folks, you guys are probably seeing it. The American dream is shrinking. You know, right now I've got an 18-year-old son and a 21-year-old daughter. The only way that they can afford to move out and actually live on their own is if they're living with 3, 4, 5 people or trying to share apartments and stuff, because especially as young people, they're not making anywhere near enough money individually, you know, to live on their own. When I was 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, and I lived out on my own, I had roommates because it was fun. It was a little bit more enjoyable to, you know, to have 2 people sharing a 2-bedroom apartment than it was to just live all by yourself. But back, you know, when I was, you know, 1991, when I turned 18 and through those, you know, early 90s, you could live off of one income back then. And with 2 people, if you were sharing an apartment or something, you could live a pretty good life. These days, there's not one person that my son could go get an apartment with today, and the 2 of them would be able to afford all of the bills. And so, you know, and then when it comes to buying houses, like, man, back in the old days, if you were fairly successful and doing good in life, you could probably buy a house by the time you were in your mid-20s or so. Nowadays, most people are probably going to be 35, 40, 50 years old if ever they can buy a house. The good news is that there are some remedies to some of this stuff, but I just want to point out that right now there is a huge hurting financially in the United States that most people are really starting to feel. The second thing that I thought was interesting is if you had $1 million back in 1985, so closing in on 30 years ago, if you had $1 million back in 1985, that was a lot of money. You were considered to be pretty successful. But because of inflation and the way things are going right now, you would need over $3.1 million in order to have the same financial power that you had back in 1985. And I mentioned this a few weeks ago, but basically I was saying, hey, 10 million is the new 1 million, folks. That most of you aren't dreaming big enough, including myself. These talks help me to dream bigger, because if your goal, if you're thinking, man, I would love to get to where I was making, you know, 6 figures a year. I would love to be able to be called a millionaire. Folks, you're not dreaming big enough. Back in 1985, if you earned 6 figures a year, that was fantastic. You were doing incredible. Nowadays, 6 figures a year is pretty common. It's pretty normal. A lot of people make 6 figures a year. So if you're making less than 6 figures a year, you're really in trouble. But even if you're making 6 figures a year right now, you are not living, you know, high on the hog. You ain't, you know, got it made. You're just still barely existing. And so, you know, I want to say you got to start dreaming bigger, guys. I think minimum we should be looking at $10 million is what we want to get to if we really want to be in a position where we can provide for our family and consider ourselves to be the one. I think if you get to $10 million in net worth, that you have the ability then to earn enough money passively to create a pretty incredible lifestyle for yourself. You put yourself in a position where you can really help your children get started in life, and you'll have something to leave to your children someday that they can help themselves and their children, and so on and so with. Another statistic that was kind of alarming, and I understand, like, I fell into this camp for a lot of years, and I am very guilty of this next one, and I'm kind of frustrated with myself a little bit when it comes to it. But right now it says the average salary in the USA, average. So there's some less, some more. So, depending on where you fit in on the schedule, but on the scale, but the average salary is $45,000 in the United States, but the average person owns a car that is worth $48,000, folks. And that's not owns free and clear. I mean, if you were making $45,000 a year, but you'd figured out a way to own a $48,000 car free and clear, more power to you. But the point is most people owe more on their car than they make in a year. And then it's kind of crazy. The next statistic, let's say that you actually make six figures, you make that $100,000 a year between you and your spouse, or even if you're single, but the average household, the average family household that's making $100,000 a year or more owes $120,000. They own two cars on average. They own $120,000. Can you imagine, folks? You're making $100,000 a year, but you owe $120,000 in car payments. Folks, Ed Mylett didn't talk about this, but there's a Christian out there. There's a gentleman named Dave Ramsey that has some pretty incredible financial information. Now, I don't agree with a lot of what he says. I don't, because I think he very much presents what he is talking about for average people. And I know that here on the Infinite Crypto YouTube channel, none of us, we don't want to be average. We're trying to create extraordinary lives. So some of his advice, though, is amazing. He recommends, it's a sacrifice, it's a challenge, but he recommends scrape together $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, whatever you can scrape together, and buy yourself the best car that you can buy for that money, and then drive that thing into the ground for the next 2 or 3 years. But while you're doing it, like right now, I've got about a $600 a month car payment. That's not a huge car payment compared to a lot of folks. But can you imagine if I was driving, say, a $5,000 car the last 3 years, and I was saving that $600 a month? I could have saved it because I've paid the car payment every month now for years and years and years. This is a car that we've had for a little over 2 years, but we've been trading our cars in every, 2-3 years. We trade our car in for a new one. So I've had a car payment for decades. Long story short, if I was to sacrifice and just drive a $5,000 car for a couple of years, $600 a year times 12 months, or a month for 12 months is $7,200 a year. In 2 years, I would have over $14,000 saved up that I could buy a car with. Now, a $5,000 car is a piece of junk. I agree. You're probably going to have to spend a few dollars in maintenance. This was not even on my mind when I started thinking about this talk today, but 2 years later, you could spend almost $15,000 on a car. And if you were able to drive that, $5,000 car for 3 or 4 years, you'd have $20,000 to $28,000 saved up that you could buy a car with. And in my life, think about it this way. Like, if I was doing it, instead of just saving $600 into a savings account that was like, okay, I'm going to go buy a car in 2 or 3 years, I could have been investing that $600 a month into crypto. This is a cryptocurrency investing channel. I know where crypto is going over the next 6 months. How much would that, 7, 14, 21, 21,000, how much would that $21,000 that I'd been saving, $600 a month for the last 3 years, turn into over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months? Realistically, we all know here that 20 grand minimum is turning into probably 200 grand. So my $600 a month car payment for the last 3 years hasn't cost me 21 grand. It's cost me probably a couple $100,000 minimum. And folks, these are the decisions that most of us make that are societal norms. We all have these car payments. We all just do it because that's what we were taught. That's what was, what we were kind of brought up doing. And we don't ever really even think too much about it. Like, I feel kind of bad. My 21-year-old daughter is stuck with a $500 a month car payment right now because we helped her get that car. And if I had to do it all over again, I might do some things a little bit differently a couple of years ago when she was looking for a car. I kind of, but on the flip side of that, I understand that when you're living paycheck to paycheck and you don't have a lot of extra money, it's kind of important to have a car that's not breaking down on you every 5 minutes. And if you go spend $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 on a car, there's going to be a relatively high likelihood that you're going to have some car issues and some stuff that you're going to have to foot the money for. That's really what happened to me in my life. Full transparency, in my early years, I screwed up my credit when I was really young. I mean, I'm 18 years old, and the first thing I do, I go out and get a gym membership. Back then, a gym membership was a contract, and they locked you into it for a year or two. And I got, a couple other little things. And long story short, work was sporadic. I wasn't going to the gym like most people. I went to the gym a few times, excited about it, and then I quit going. So after 2 or 3 months of not going to the gym and not having any money, I quit making my gym payment, and that put a ding against my credit and a few different things. So I started off in the world with relatively bad credit at a young age, and never had tons of cash. So I always had cars that were always breaking down on me. And I got so tired of it. I got so tired of these $500, $700, $900 bills for a water pump or, an alternator and this and that, blah, blah, blah. The first time that I had an opportunity to buy a brand new car and it was under warranty, man, it was awesome to have a car that was so new that it didn't ever break down. But it was also cool to know that if that car did break down, I could just take it into the dealership and they would fix it. But folks, that has cost me probably at this point in my life $1 million. Like, literally, folks, if I would have started off 20 years ago, even when I was 30 years old, if I was started off with this philosophy of paying cash for my cars and saving the money every month and upgrading the cars and investing and doing some of the things that I'm doing now, it would have financially impacted my life huge. But so the other thing here, let me get off of that soapbox. I wasn't going to talk about that at all. But folks, man, if you've got a bunch of car payments and a bunch of debt, one of the things that I want you to highly consider is, as your cryptocurrency portfolio starts going up and to the right, start taking some of those funds as you take profits and take a percentage, get yourself out of debt, which is going to lower your monthly needs tremendously too. The second thing that I thought was interesting, it says the average person in the USA also carries about $70,000 worth of student debt or consumer debt, and sometimes it's combined. But can you imagine that the average person has $70,000 worth of debt in their life? And the other thing that I thought was kind of crazy, it says we're at the first time here in America where we have a negative savings rate, where the average person owes more money than they have in savings. And that's including like their 401k. So that's crazy. The average person, not everybody, if you've got a nice 401k and and you don't have a lot of debt, you're doing better than the average. But the average person owes more money to consumer debt, student debt, car debt, whatever, than they even have set aside in savings of any kind, whether it's money in the stock market, money in crypto, money in their 401k. The average person in America has a negative worth. So here we are trying to become worth, $1 million or 10 million. The average person here in America would be excited if they just were at even, if they didn't have a negative worth. And so, folks, it's kind of scary what is going on right now in the world. And it's important to let yourself get a little bit fearful for a moment. Get a little bit scared, get a little upset, if you will. And it's okay to understand that we made some mistakes. We let ourselves get into positions that we probably shouldn't have, and then do something about it. I don't want you to beat yourself up too much. You know, if you're one of these people that I'm talking about, like that's you make 45 or 100,000, but you've got $120,000 worth of car payments, you know, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just realize that you want to maybe pivot, make some changes, go a little bit different direction, you know, for the rest of your life. And maybe get out from underneath some of that. Maybe quit worrying. You know, one of the things that costs us the most in life is worrying so darn much about what other people think. And unfortunately, well, maybe, I don't know if it's unfortunate or not, but the truth is, most of the people that we're worried about what they're thinking about us aren't thinking about us at all. They got their own problems. They got their own life. They're worried about what you're thinking about them, not what they're not spending very much time thinking about you. Like, seriously, we worry about what everybody else thinks. But honestly, in your own life, how much time and energy are you spending thinking about other people and their situation? You know, do you really spend a lot of time worrying about, you know, if your brother and your sister-in-law, if they're how well they're doing in life, and compare them to your life, and you're worried about, oh man, they just got a new car, so I need to get a new car? Like, are you spending that much of time? I would say that the average person probably no, you don't think about other people and their situations very much at all. And, you know, if you are, you might want to take a look at that. Because, you know, maybe the reason you're so worried about what people are thinking about you and saying about you is because you're thinking about and worried about other people way, way, way too much. I got news for you, man. Worrying about your neighbor, your brother, your mom, your dad, your uncle, your coworkers. That's another huge one. Your coworkers. You think your coworkers are doing so much better than you. I promise you they're not. So many people put up such a fantastic front here on social media and Facebook, and everything's great. And then if you were to really deep dive into their life, you would figure out that they are living lives of what I call quiet desperation. They don't know what to do. They're sinking financially. Their spouse, their marriage is on the rocks. You know, their kids hate them. And, you know, there's now, you know, they go to church on Sunday and everything looks happy. You know, the family, you know, puts on a good front. But folks, very, very few people are actually as happy behind the cameras as they are in front of the cameras. And, you know, I'm one of them. I'm not as happy behind the camera as I am in front of the camera. I'll admit it. Now, full transparency, I'm just not, man. I got life, man. You know, old Rocky Balboa says life is going to hit you hard. It's going to knock you down to your knees, you know, but winning is about how many times can you get up and keep moving forward. And folks, man, I've been getting punched in the face a lot, especially in the last, 3 years. I got punched in the face more in the last 3 years than I probably got punched in the face in the previous 10 before that. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still very, very happy in a lot of ways, but I would say that I'm probably about a 6 on a scale of happiness compared to the 10 that I show you guys most of the time. Now, and it's not that I'm trying to be, trying to act as if, like put on false airs or whatever, but at the same time, like I'm a pretty positive person. You could tell me right now that I was, diagnosed with some major illness, and I would be a little upset and I'd be freaked out, and I'd probably have my day or two where I sat around feeling sorry for myself, but then I'd be up and kicking butt and saying, hey, it is what it is. I'm going to do what I can do, focus on what I can control, and I'm going to be happy whether I got another week on this earth, six years or 60 years on this earth. I'm going to enjoy them and live to the best of my ability. So once again, don't get me wrong. I'm not this totally fake person that's acting one way and totally living another, but I'm just telling you that there's some things in my life that I'm going to be excited to overcome. Right now, I am in the middle of the fight, man. And really, when it comes down to it, I think we're always going to be in the middle of some kind of fight. Ed Mylett, I'll go back to him. I know that he's one of my favoriteest people in the whole world, but I know that he's been fighting some health challenges recently. He's 52 years old and he's worth hundreds of millions. But folks, sometimes money doesn't matter. Now, I know that his money allows him to buy and have the best medical treatments and everything that money can buy. But the fact of the matter is, he took a big step back in his social media. He took a big step back on his speaking schedule to really focus in on his health and what was important, spending time, with his loved ones. So there's always going to be challenges. Having money is going to help us alleviate some of the stress in our life, but you still have others. He's got a young man, a son that I want to say is about 21 years old, 21, 22, that just got out of college and is pursuing a career in professional golfing. He's got a daughter that's a junior in college that, and both of them, one of the things that I love about Ed Mylett is he's making them both earn their way. He's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but he made them both buy their first car. He tells an incredible story. This is a little off topic too, but it just goes to the moral, the point of life in a sense. He tells a story where his daughter went to a job interview when she was 16. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was worth hundreds of millions of dollars, I'm not 100% sure that my daughter would have been going and having a job at 16. I think she probably would have, but I respect that because I know way, way, way too many people that have it made and that just make their children's lives too easy. But long story short, she went to this job interview and they were going to hire her. And then they found out that she wasn't 18 right at the end of the job interview. And they told her, "Oh, I'm sorry. We don't hire unless you're 18 years old." So she called her dad, kind of sad and a little bit dejected. And, but Ed Mylett, one of his sayings in life, his motto is the power of one more. In fact, he wrote a book called The Power of One More, but he's always one more. Like if you're going to do, 11 or 10 reps on the bench press, do 11. If you're going to do 45 minutes on the treadmill, do 46. If you're going to make 5 sales calls today, do 6 sales calls. The power of one more. And so he just, consoled his daughter a little bit and said, "Hey, don't worry about it. God's got something else planned for you. We're going to, you're going to find a job. It's okay." And they hung up the phone. And then the daughter remembered the dad's mantra, power of one more. And on walking back to her car, she saw this frozen yogurt store, and she decided to stop in and see if they were hiring. And so she walked in and she asked for the manager, and the manager came out and she said, "Hey, my name is, so-and-so, Bella Mylett, and I'm looking for a job. Do you have any job openings?" Well, it just turned out that they actually were hiring, and they were just getting ready to make a post and to do some hiring. And she walked in, talked to the manager, impressed her, and got hired on the spot. And she went home and was able to tell her parents that she'd gotten a job. Well, folks, that's the difference between success and failure in life. The power of one more, her mindset. She didn't get the job because her dad was worth hundreds of millions. She didn't get the job because he pulled some strings or anything like that. She got the job because she had the right mindset, and he taught her from a young age the power of one more, the power of positive thinking, the power of getting up after life knocks you down to the ground and fighting back and fighting hard. And so we all have our battles, folks. We all have our struggles. And whatever you're going through in life right now, I'm telling you, you can win. You gotta win. You gotta believe that you gotta win. There's way too many people out there that are just okay. Maybe they're gonna win, maybe they ain't, and they're just okay with it. I guarantee you, folks, almost zero. I would say it's zero, but there might be a lucky person every once in a while. But I would say it's so close to zero, we could just call it zero. That if you're one of those people that's going in life that's like, well, hopefully things are going to get better pretty soon. I would love to win in life, but if I don't, it's okay. You're not going to win in life. You gotta decide that you're going to win. You gotta win. Because if you don't win, who else is going to win for you? Who else is going to win for your family? Towards the end of this video, Ed Mylett talked a lot about the fact that when you're in this struggle in the beginning, for the most part, you're just thinking about you and maybe, your immediate needs, your immediate family. But one of the things that he mentions at the end of this video is you don't even realize it yet. All of the struggle that you're going through, all of the hate that you're going through, all of the people that are making fun of you and, oh, there goes Brad. He's going to be a famous influencer. Ha ha. He's going to make millions in crypto. Where's your millions, Brad? You've been doing this crypto stuff for 7-8 years. How come you ain't worth 100 million? Like all of that stuff that you're going through right now, you're not even going through it for you. Because I believe that most of you have a bigger purpose in this life than just what you can get out of it. This is more important than the house that you can buy and the Lambo that you can buy and the vacations that you can go on. This is important because you're going to be able to help other people, folks. You're going to be able to do tremendous things for the people on this planet that you care about. I told a story a while back, but I'll tell this story again. Ed Mylett, one of his sisters, I believe, has type 1 diabetes. And at a fairly young age, she started to go blind. And she was a school teacher. She was passionate about school teaching. And one of the things I love about Ed Mylett, he doesn't care if you're making $25,000 a year or $200 million a year. If you're happy and you're doing what you love and you are enjoying life and you're adding value to other people's lives, you are successful. And so he loved his sister. And even though she was only making, school teacher money, which, as we know, especially here in the United States, is not enough. School teachers do not get paid anywhere near enough money. It's ridiculous, the amount of money that school teachers, the people that are responsible for the next generation's education, how they get treated. But long story short, she loved it. And she worked with young kids. And because she was going blind, she had to retire. She couldn't do the school anymore. And Ed Mylett was out taking a walk. He lives in a pretty affluent neighborhood at this time in Laguna Beach, California. He's out taking a walk. He's got the Kardashians and some different people that live all over around where he is. And he was walking down the street, just taking a walk, thinking about things. And he remembered that one of the gentlemen that lived at one of these big mansions was an eye doctor. And he thought to himself, I wonder if this eye doctor, if there's any chance that he might be able to help my sister. So, first thing that he did, another success principle is he acted now. He got the thought. He was sitting in front of the guy's house. He walked right up and he knocked on the guy's door. The guy opened the door and he said, hey, my name's Ed Mylett. I live a couple of houses down. They started talking. Long story short, he was able to tell this doctor exactly what was going on. And the doctor said, actually, I do have some new cutting edge technology. I believe that I can help your sister. And Ed Mylett was able to stroke a check. I don't know how much it was, 25, 50, 100 grand. He was able to stroke a check. And his sister went in and got this procedure done, and she got her eyesight back. And he shows a cool picture where she's standing out in front of her classroom with 20 or 30 kids with a great big huge smile on her face, and all of these kids that are, smiling and loving her because she was able to go back and start teaching school. Folks, I don't know about you, but if I had the opportunity to save my sister's eyesight for 100 grand and get that reaction from her students and help her in her life, or go out and spend 100 grand on a car, I'd choose my sister's eyesight every time. And folks, all of us have people in our lives that are struggling and that need help. Right now, like in the old days, folks, people helped their parents. Most people took care of their parents when their parents got old. Yeah, Social Security and stuff was nice, but the children helped the parents out when they got old. Now, most of the time, even though the parents are 70, 80, 90 years old, they're still helping the kids. And a lot of the kids, don't get me wrong here, they're not like excited and anxious for their parents to kick the bucket by any means. But a lot of the kids are like, man, when so-and-so kicks the bucket, I'm going to get this inheritance, and holy smokes, that's going to be fantastic, which is the total opposite way that you should be looking at life. You should be in a position where you can help your parents enjoy their later years, not expecting a big sum of money that's going to save your butt when something ends up, unfortunately, happening to them. So, man, I'm losing my train of thought. I'm trying to kind of figure out where to go from here. So give me one quick second. Let me take a quick swig of my medicine here and kind of regain my composure. So what have we learned today? We've learned that the financial system that we're in is broke. We've also learned that nobody is going to save us, that no matter who wins tomorrow, it's still going to be broke. It's broken really beyond the point of repair. The good news is, folks, is that we, the individuals, as long as we have life and liberty and the ability to pursue happiness, we have the ability to take control of our financial situation and make it right, even though there's not a political party on the planet that can really fix everything. And once again, there are going to be some differences. I think in crypto, we're going to see a lot more excitement and a lot more frothiness in the market, depending on who wins tomorrow. But the fact of the matter is, folks, we got to take the responsibility, and we got to make things right for us and for our family, and hopefully set an example for other people that are watching us. Some of these people that are your haters right now, that are maybe making fun of you a little bit, that are maybe, dogging on you. Hey, how's your crypto going? Oh man, I saw, Bitcoin looked like it was going to pop up and do something special. Now it's all the way back to 68 grand and blah, blah, blah. All of those people that it appears like are hating on you, there's probably some of them that are kind of rooting for you, because when you become successful, you give other people permission to become successful. Unfortunately, there's a huge amount of the population that's kind of waiting to see you have success. And if you can really break through and have success in your life, then maybe some of these people are going to come along. I've got people in my life that I've been talking to about cryptocurrency since 2017 that are finally starting to come around. I got a brother-in-law that told me at $10,000 Bitcoin that he'd missed the boat. It was too late for him. Wished me luck in my journey. That finally now, Bitcoin is at 69, 70,000, and he's finally, jumping in, realizing that blockchain technology and cryptocurrency isn't going anywhere. So what is the solution? What is the solution? Well, folks, this is not financial advice. This is just my opinion. But in my opinion, one of the best solutions is cryptocurrency investing and blockchain technology. And why do I say that? It's not just because I'm a cryptocurrency YouTuber and so I got to talk about, cryptocurrency. I'm 51 years old. I've spent a lot of my life looking at real estate, insurance sales, a lot of different ways of making money. And the reason that I believe that cryptocurrency is where you want to be, at least one of the places that you want to be, is because of all of the financial turmoil. I can think of several different reasons. One of the things that I love about crypto, folks, is that you can kind of take it with you anywhere you decide to go. So if you ever decided that you wanted to live abroad, beautiful. You got your crypto in your private wallet. You can, wherever you go, you can access it. If you own real estate here in America, it might be possible to, have passive income and cash flow it, but then you got to worry about employees, you got to worry about people managing it, you got to worry about real estate prices. like we just mentioned that real estate was up over 138% over the last 15 years. There's a lot of people in our country that do believe at some point in time we're going to see some retracement, that we're going to see some pain in the real estate markets. And so, I think that real estate is a great place, but right now I like crypto even better. The other thing that I love about crypto, folks, is right now AI technology is revolutionizing the world, not just in the blockchain, everywhere. I think, NVIDIA stock is a great example of that. And folks, one of the things that's going to happen is over the next 5, 10, 15, 25 years, AI is going to take over, and it's going to take a lot of the jobs that some of us are working in, like customer service jobs, are going to be a thing of the past because they're going to be able to hire robots. AI is going to be able to do customer service. You see it happening, all the time. I'm not here, doom and gloom you, but the world is changing. What worked back in the 90s and even in the early 2000s isn't working now. And what wasn't working then is really not going to be working in 10 or 20 years. The world is changing at an ever rapid pace. I'm not going to go into the whole history of money, but one of the things that I can tell you, if you go all the way back to the beginning of money, that every different financial age has shrunk, has gotten smaller and smaller. So in other words, there were, back in the agriculture days, like back in the early days, back in the 14, 15, 1600s, your wealth was basically determined by the property, what you owned property wise. That was your wealth. Then we kind of moved into the industrial age, and then it was more of, like what did you own? The big conglomerates, the steel companies, and the different people. But the agricultural age lasted thousands of years. The industrial age lasted a pretty good and long time too, 100 years or so plus. But then it shrunk down, and now like the information age came along, and some of these cycles now, where we used to take decades for something the new thing to come into play and to be the new financial revolution, it used to be decades, is now happening every few years, and it's just going to continue to shrink down. So we have to be ready to ride these waves and kind of stay ahead of the curve. And so number one, if you are working for somebody else, that's okay. But I'm here to tell you that the old mantra of go to school, get a good education, and get a good job is the worst advice that you have ever gotten in your life. Some of the worst advice. There's probably some worse advice out there, but that's bad advice. And especially right now, if you have young children or teenage children and that's what they're being taught, that is absolutely some of the worst advice that they've ever heard. Right now, we just talked about it. I got a 21-year-old daughter. She would probably have to work 3 jobs in order to live on her own. And even then, I don't think she could do it. Like, I literally don't believe that my 21-year-old daughter could work enough hours in a week to live by herself and have any type of actual enjoyable life. And not to mention, if you're working 16, 18, 20 hours a day to pay all of your bills, how is that any type of enjoyable life? But I'm saying I don't even think she could work 16, 18 hours a day and make enough money to have just a decent, apartment and a car and health insurance and food and air conditioning and blah, 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 like everything that comes with life. Near impossible. And even with one roommate, they'd be in trouble. They got to get up to 2, 3, 4 roommates. So to go to work or, go to school, get a good education and get a good job is horrible, horrible advice. Now, if you have followed that path thus far in your life, it's not your fault. That's what you got. You started getting told about that when you were too old to even understand what you were being told. So it's not a dig on you, but I'm here to tell you folks, now is the time to be aware that that was horrible advice. Don't quit your job. Don't go quit your job. If you've got a job that's paying the bills, keep your job, but realize, folks, that the best thing that you can do is get off of Netflix, get off of Prime, Get off your social media scroll. Quit watching TikTok for 2 or 3 hours a day. Quit looking at Instagram Reels, and get serious about creating some wealth in your life. And I believe that you have a massive, massive opportunity right now to continue to do this in the cryptocurrency space. And over the next 5 years, you're going to have massive, massive opportunity to create and change the wealth needle in your life. If you've been involved in cryptocurrency now for a while and you've got a portfolio built up and you're headed in the right direction, fantastic. Double down on it. Work on getting out of debt and work on increasing your income. Create a side hustle. Figure out a way to make some more money at night. Try to take those hours where you normally are just kind of tired and you want to just relax and you want to just watch some TV, and learn how to discipline yourself and make a little bit of extra money. You know, I did this. It's been a long time since I did this, but I talked about if you could just go make $50 a day driving for Uber, Uber Eats, or just regular Uber or whatever, some kind of a side hustle where you're buying something cheap online and selling it for a little bit more. $50 a day was $1,500 a month. And even let's just say that you figure out a way to make $50 extra a day, just Monday through Friday. So that's, call it an extra $250 a week, 4 weeks. We'll just call it $1,000 a month. That $1,000 a month, if you put that into crypto, and it's going to 10, 20, 50x, that $1,000 a month that you're making right now, even on a minimum scale, if it 10x's, that's $10,000 extra a month that you can get into life. And right now, we still got a window of opportunity. It's the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months are going to be absolutely incredible. If you buy a Polkadot today at $3.70 or whatever it is, yeah, you're going to do better on it long term than if you're buying it at the end of December at $12. But the fact of the matter is, if you're buying it at $12 and it's still, if it goes up to, 30, 40, 50 bucks, you're still going to have an opportunity to make some incredible money. I want to give a big shout out. I haven't seen him on a live stream lately. Deadwood, Deadwood brought a token called Alien Base to the channel a couple, 2 or 3 months ago. I bought some for myself, and I also bought some for the Infinite Crypto Inner Circle. Well, folks, that token was down at about 5 cents or so when he brought it to us. It just recently hit 50 cents. I think it's still sitting at least 35 to 45 cents. But right now, that token, it 10x'd in the last 3 months. So there was opportunities, even though the market has been sideways and up and down and not that great, there was definitely some places where you could have earned some incredible upside on your money. So for those of you that are part of the Infinite Crypto family that have been around for a while, and you went out and bought Alien Base because Deadwood talked about it on one of our Wednesday live streams, and then I talked about it and I put it into my Infinite Crypto Inner Circle. So if you were in the Inner Circle, you heard about Alien Base several months ago. For those of you that bought that, congratulations. For those of you that didn't buy it, shame on you. No, not really. I know you guys can't buy everything. And over the last handful of months, there's certainly been some tokens that we were excited about that haven't done great either. So I'm not saying that every single token that we talk about here is a winner by any means, but there are some that are incredible winners. The cool thing about that token, folks, I think it's still sitting at about a $35 million market cap, where its biggest competitor, Aerodrome Finance, was all the way up to, I think, a $700 or $800 million, closing in on $1 billion market cap at its absolute peak. So even at 35 million, it's got a heck of a long ways to run. So what do you do to be the one in your life? Well, there's a couple of things. First, you got to quit spending more than you make. You got to quit going into debt. You got to quit making purchases with money that needs to be getting invested. So it's just like they always say, delayed gratification. If you're at the mall and you're going and spending $2,000 on a purse or a leather wallet, when you're still got credit card debt and owe money on your cars and you don't own a house yet, well, maybe you might want to reconsider some of the things that you buy to have fun with. I've got a story. I've got a friend. We haven't talked now for about 10 years. And I think it's partially because he was telling me how, he was broke. He'd been laid off. He'd lost his boat. He'd lost a bunch of stuff. And he was excited because he got a job at Boeing, and up in Washington. Boeing's a huge employee, and they make pretty good money. But he was talking, the first thing he was talking, I can't wait till this job starts going so I can go out and get me a boat. And I tried to tell him, hey, man, that's crazy. Like, don't go blow your money on a boat. Like, he couldn't afford to buy a boat. He was going to go finance a boat and have several $100 a month payment on a boat. And I'm trying to tell him, hey, man, it's crazy for you to be that excited about going and buying a boat when you're broke, when you have to go finance it. He basically told me that he did not care what I thought, that he was going to go buy a boat. And I could tell he's pretty upset with me for even saying something, which leads me to another point that wasn't on topic. But I want to give you guys another saying, one of my favorite sayings. I think it fits in well with this story. So, folks, the truth will set you free. But first, it's going to piss you off. And that's what it did with him. And unfortunately, it never set him free, because he went and got a job. He went and got a boat. And, to the best of my knowledge, all these years later, he's struggling, living paycheck to paycheck. And he looks good. He smells good. But, he's broke and he's hurting financially because he was more worried about going out and getting, new cars and new boats and new stuff, instead of worrying about building up his portfolio. Ed Mylett talked about the fact that he had a very expensive watch on, but he also talked about how he didn't start buying watches and expensive stuff like that until the money didn't matter. And he never finances that kind of stuff. If he can't pay cash for it, he doesn't buy it. And not only if he can't pay cash for it, he doesn't buy it, but he's probably got the money laying around to where he could buy 10 of them if he wanted to for cash. So, he was worth tens and tens of millions of dollars before he went out and spent $50,000 on a watch. I know people that are making $250,000 a year that go spend 50 grand on a watch. And folks, I'm telling you, I'm not trying to put you down. I'm not really trying to judge you here if you're one of those folks, but I'm telling you, man, that 50 grand that you went and spent on that watch is costing you $1 million. It's costing you $1 million if you had that 50 grand invested in the right places for the next 5 years. That 50 grand is going to 20x in the right cryptocurrencies. You're costing yourself $1 million so that you can wear a piece of jewelry that, guess what? Most people don't even know how much it costs. And most of the people that can afford a watch and know how much it costs, they really don't care that much. And guess what? The other thing is, people that are truly, really, really financially successful, they can kind of tell who's faking it and who isn't. They know which guy is wearing the $50,000 watch but really can't afford to be. And so it doesn't impress them. They actually kind of look down on you in a sense, because they know that you're just trying to give the facade that you've got all of this money and all of this success. The real wealthiest people that I know, I've got a friend who's a professional basketball player with tremendous wealth. Doesn't have one piece of jewelry on, not one gold necklace, not one gold ring, no watch. Doesn't even wear a watch most of the time. I'm not against watches. There's a couple of cool watches out there that I would like one of these days, but I'm just saying, don't ruin your family's financial future to go buy a boat before it's time, to go buy a watch before it's time, to buy a purse and all of that kind of stuff, folks. It's all meaningless. You're going to find that all of the stuff is the least successful or the least happiness creating part of the journey. It's not the stuff, man. It's what you can do and how you can help other people. It's having the freedom. That's why we talk about, like, if you go look at my YouTube channel, you look at the home screen, you look at the description, it doesn't say anything in there about the Infinite Crypto mission is to go out and buy nice cars and to have mansions and to have a Rolex and blah, blah, blah. There's not one word about stuff. It says here at Infinite Crypto, freedom is our war cry. Well, folks, I'm telling you that all of the stuff is keeping you from having the freedom, and the freedom to wake up in the morning and take your kids to school and to pick them up when they get off of school and to be able to take them to their sports, the ability to be there for everything. That is what is worth the money. If you're single and you don't have kids yet, the ability to wake up in the morning, not have to go in and say yes to a boss, to have a boss that tells you when you got to be there, when you can leave, when you can go to the bathroom, when you can take a vacation. Being able to walk in and tell your boss, sorry, I can't afford to work for you anymore. That is where the true success lies. Being able to go take amazing vacations and explore other parts of the world. And, man, we got a big world here that God gave us, and 99% of us never see any of it. Do you realize? I don't know the exact statistic. I heard it recently, but I don't know. I'd have to look it up. So these numbers are not exact, but it was crazy to me how many people here in the United States have never traveled outside of the state that they lived in. I mean, it was like an enormous number. It was 25, 50, 75%. Like, I know there's a big difference between 25 and 75, but can you imagine, folks? Can you imagine living on this huge planet? And even if it was only 10%, can you imagine 10% of the people never go outside of the state that they were born in? And then if you go up a little bit further, like if you born and raised here in America, the number of people, a number of Americans that have never been outside of the country is a much, much, much higher number. You would be amazed at how many people have never even gone outside of the United States if they were born here. Folks, I want to go travel the world. My wife and I, we've got plans. We've got to go to Ireland. We want to go check out, Europe and do the France and Paris, or I guess those are the same thing, right? Paris and Italy and, Germany, and just all, like go on like a 1 month long trip and see all sorts of, we want to go to Greece. We want to go to Bali. We want to go to Costa Rica. We want to go to Portugal. We want to go to Puerto Rico. I mean, I can list off places for the rest of this stream, and I'd still be talking about places in 3 hours where we want to go. Something else that is a dream of ours, we've always enjoyed cruises. So there's this worldwide cruise. It's like a 120-day cruise. I forget how many ports, but it's a lot. You go to different country after different country after different country. It's called a world cruise. It takes like 90 to 120 days. I want to say it costs roughly $100,000 per person to take this trip. And that's one of the things that we're excited about doing. And so, folks, I've been talking for a little over an hour. I'm running out of things to say. I don't know if any of this was helpful, but, just for those of you that are taking notes, just remember the topic here. Are you the one? Are you the one? Are you going to be the one that changes your family's financial tree that's going to affect the next generation, the next generation, and the next generation, and the next generation? And if you believe that you were put here on this earth to be the one, then write that down. I am the one. I am the one. I, Eric Bernstein, am the one. I, Paul Nalder, am the one. I, Brad Varnell, am the one. And let's make it happen, folks. Let's change the financial future, not only for ourselves, but for generations to come. And, last but not least, how are you going to do that? Well, go get educated. I recommend that you go buy the book that Ed Mylett wrote, The Power of One More. I've read a lot of books. You can't see all of them, but I got a bunch just behind me on those bookshelves. And I've read, hundreds and hundreds of books in my life. The Power of One More by Ed Mylett is absolutely one of the top 5 to 10 books that you should be reading in your life. And if you want to be the one in your life, The Power of One More by Ed Mylett's probably the first book I would recommend that you go out and read. So with that, folks, God bless you. Let's hope that tomorrow goes the way that most of us here in crypto are hoping that it's going to go. I'm excited for the live stream on Wednesday. By Wednesday morning, we should have hopefully a pretty good idea of what happened tomorrow. There's some possibility that it's going to get drawn out and we're not going to find out who the winner is for a week or two. Hopefully not. I'm hoping that somebody wins by such a huge margin that there just is absolutely no doubt in that they are, announced the president of the United States on Tuesday night going into Wednesday morning. But we're going to have an incredible live stream on Wednesday morning that you're not going to want to miss. So if you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, because we're going to go live at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time again on Wednesday with our microcap gem live stream. But we're going to be talking about the event that happened tomorrow, who looks like they're going to win. We're going to be going over what that's going to do to the prices in crypto. And we absolutely are going to be talking about some incredible new tokens. We've got several new microcap gems on our radar, folks. So hope to see you all there. Once again, thank you all for coming. Paul, I appreciate you. You're here nonstop. I appreciate you. John Lopez, thank you for coming. Appreciate you very much. Bobby Amos, how you doing, man? Good morning, everybody. I hope you are doing fantastic. Yeah, Eric says, wow, nice call, Deadwood. Yeah, absolutely, man. Deadwood has been a fantastic community member. And if you're not following him on Twitter, if you're on Twitter, you want to follow Deadwood. I don't remember his exact @ right this second, but if you follow me on Twitter, Deadwood and I are definitely connected. It wouldn't be hard to find him. He does a lot of talking about crypto on his Twitter. So follow Deadwood on Twitter if you haven't. And then Dave P., hey, thank you very much for being here. God bless you all. And then thank you very much, my sweetie pie. My sweetie pie was here today. Good morning. Hit that like, subscribe, and share button. Yeah, thank you so much, babe. I love you so much. Thank you for watching the show today. And once again, folks, just have an incredible rest of your day. Go do some winning, and we'll see you again on Wednesday. God bless and take care.